My daughter was bitten by a venomous snake, and I exhausted every effort to secure a dose of anti-venom. My husband's childhood sweetheart wanted the anti-venom for her own bitten teacup dog, and I refused outright. After learning what happened, my husband merely said it was good that we were all right, but on our daughter's birthday, he drugged us with sleeping pills and threw us into a snake pit. Why wouldn't you give the anti-venom to Dowdu? Dowdu died, and Shurian's depression relapsed. Every suffering she has endured, you too will experience as well. I died crushed by a python. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my daughter was bitten by the venomous snake. This time, I pushed my husband toward the venomous snake. Mom, snake. Yao Yao pointed at the grass, her face as pale as a ghost. A brightly colored venomous snake was slithering through the grass, its tongue flicking in and out. My heart felt as if it were gripped by an icy hand. Memories of my past life came flooding back like a tidal wave. The icy snake pit, the slick scales, the excruciating pain of bones cracking as the python tightened its body, and Ziming's maniacal face. Overwhelming hatred burned within me, nearly consuming all my reason. In a flash, the startled venomous snake abruptly turned and lunged in his direction, summoning strength I didn't know I had. I gave Ziming a hard shove. He stumbled right into the path of the snake's strike. Ziming let out a miserable scream as the venomous snake's fangs pierced his ankle with deadly precision. He turned to look back at me in shock, his eyes filled with disbelief. Ignoring him, I quickly took a photo of the snake, then tore off a piece of my skirt and tied it tightly around the upper part of his wound, closer to his heart. Then, calmly holding my daughter, I took out my phone and dialed 120. Hello, is this the emergency center? We're at Villa 1, Yunchi Mountain. An adult male has been bitten by a snake. It's urgent. After hanging up, I finally looked down at Ziming, who had collapsed on the ground. The wound on his ankle had already swollen and turned black, and the excruciating pain twisted his face. He looked at me, his lips trembling. Su Qingyan, did you just push me? You're mistaken. I was just so anxious to save Yao Yao that I accidentally bumped into you. My tone was gentle, but my eyes were cold as frost. Ziming, in this life, let's see if you can still be so righteous and self-sacrificing. The ambulance arrived with sirens blaring. Yao Yao, Ziming, and I were all taken to the central hospital. After the initial diagnosis, the doctor told me with a grave expression that the snake that bit them was a rare local species, highly venomous. Your husband is in very serious condition. The doctor shook his head. He was bitten near the main artery in his ankle. The venom is spreading fast. He needs the corresponding anti-venom immediately. I nodded. I know, there's only one dose in all of Cloud City, at the Institute of Biology in the south. The doctor looked at me in surprise. How do you know that? Of course I knew. In my previous life, to save Yao Yao, I begged nearly everyone I could. Only then did I manage to get that single, life-saving dose from the institute. And Ziming, he personally destroyed that hope, along with my life and Yao Yao's. I took out my phone and dialed that familiar number. On the other end of the line was my mentor from university, now working at a research institute in Cloud City. In a trembling voice, I briefly and clearly explained the situation. My mentor immediately agreed. Don't worry, Qingyan, I'll have someone send the serum right away. Your husband will be fine. After hanging up, I looked at Ziming in the emergency room, his face purple and blue, and felt nothing but utter desolation inside. He would be fine, at least. Not yet. I stayed outside the emergency room, dutifully playing the role of a panicked wife worried about her husband. Before long, the rapid clatter of high heels approached from afar. Lin Shuryun arrived. She was wearing a white dress, her long hair slightly disheveled, and her delicately made-up face was streaked with tears, looking pitifully vulnerable. Yao Yao, how is Yao Yao? She rushed over and grabbed my arm with astonishing strength. Looking at that familiar face, my stomach churned. In my previous life, she had grabbed me just like this, crying as she begged for antiserum for her teddy dog, Dowdu. Suppressing my nausea, I forced out 2 tears. Thank you for your concern. Yao Yao is fine. Upon hearing my words, a flicker of bewilderment crossed Lin Shuryun's face, but she soon broke into tears again. She gripped my hand, her voice trembling. Right, sister-in-law. Dowdu, my Dowdu was also bitten by a snake. The doctor said only that specific anti-venom can save his life. I lowered my gaze, hiding the mockery in my eyes. Here it comes, exactly as I had anticipated, since Yao Yao isn't hurt. Sister-in-law, could you let Dowdu have the anti-venom, please? I'm begging you. Lin Shuryun's tears fell like beads from a broken string. Yao Yao really isn't hurt, but Ziming, he was bitten by the venomous snake saving Yao Yao, and he's still in emergency. I gave myself a hard pinch and wept face-to-face with Lin Shuryun. What? Ziming Gij, how can that be? Lin Shuryun's face went pale, and it took her a moment to recover. Sister-in-law, you must be lying to me. How could Zimming ever get hurt? Although I'd long known that what happened in my previous life was no accident, I hadn't expected to trick the culprit into revealing a clue so easily. It was worth it to have deliberately told her that the injured person was Yao Yao nearby. Patient's family members who didn't know the truth were already pointing at Lin Shiyun and whispering, "How can a dog be compared to a person? Exactly, what's this girl thinking?" Ignoring the onlookers, Lin Shiyun stared straight at me and said, "Duo duo. Isn't an ordinary dog. My mother left him to me before she died, and Zimming loves him the most. If he were conscious right now, he would definitely agree to give Duo Duo the anti-serum first. She even brought He Zimming into it." I sneered inwardly. Yes, of course He Zimming would agree. Hadn't he done exactly that in the previous life for her and her dog? He personally pushed me and my daughter into hell. I took a deep breath. Putting on a conflicted and pained expression, I looked at the tightly shut door of the emergency room, then at Lin Shiyun, who was crying as if she might faint, and my eyes reddened as well. "Shiyun, don't be like this, Zimming, he is my husband." My voice was choked, full of inner struggle. Lin Shiyun sobbed even harder. "Sister-in-law, I know this is cruel to you, but I really have no other choice. As long as you're willing to save Dadu, I'll do anything you ask. I'll kneel before you." As she spoke, her knees really went weak, and she started to fall to the ground. I quickly helped her up, but in my heart, I was counting down 3, 2, 1, but I didn't expect that the first to arrive would be my mother-in-law's slap. "You wretched woman, my son's been bitten by a venomous snake, and you're still in the mood to take pictures." I couldn't dodge in time and took the slap square on the cheek. "What's going on? How did Zimming get bitten by a venomous snake?" my father-in-law asked coldly. 3. I wiped away my tears and said pitifully, "I don't know why there was a venomous snake in the villa. Zimming was only trying to save Yao Yao, a mere girl. If she dies, she dies. Zimming really shouldn't have." My father-in-law sighed. My fist slowly tightened inside my sleeve. I knew they had always resented Yao Yao for being a girl, but I never expected them to openly say she should just die in front of everyone. The doctor noticed the commotion and sent security to separate us. Seeing more and more people gathering around, my mother-in-law dropped her aggressive act and tearfully grabbed the doctor's arm. "Please, doctor, you must save my son." Then she pointed at me resentfully. "You wretched woman, get lost. My son was bitten by a venomous snake, and you still had the heart to take photos. Clearly you're up to no good." "Enough." The doctor shook off my mother-in-law and said loudly, "Ms. Sue administered first aid to your son." Ms. Sue photographed the snake, which allowed us to determine the treatment, and the only dose of anti-venom in the whole province. She helped obtain it from the Yunqing Research Institute. Without her, your son would already be dead." The mother-in-law was stunned by the scolding, then broke down into even more aggrieved sobs. The father-in-law's face stiffened with anger, yet he had no choice but to step in as a mediator. "Qing Yin, you've worked hard. I knew you wouldn't bear to see Zimming suffer. How about this? Once he's healed, I'll allow you to carry the He family's bloodline again." He spoke condescendingly, as if certain that I would gratefully accept. Unfortunately, he miscalculated. "No need, Mr. He, once Zimming can walk again, we're getting a divorce," I said calmly, shaking my head. Leaving the scumbag was only a matter of time, but before that, I had to find out who killed us in our past life. The doctor walked out of the emergency room. "The patient is awake. You can have a simple conversation with him." Lin Shiyun's eyes instantly lit up. She looked at me. "Sister-in-law, what about the antiserum?" I deliberately put on a troubled look and glanced at my in-laws. My mother-in-law waved her hand impatiently. "Shiyun, there's no need to beg her. If you want something, just take it." "Thank you, Aunt Shen," Lin Shiyun said, overjoyed. "You don't need to thank me." My mother-in-law smiled at Lin Shiyun and warmly took her hand. "If Zimming hadn't been framed back then, you would be the rightful Mrs. She wouldn't have even gotten a chance to sit in this position. Besides, it's just an antidote serum. It's not like our He Family's Research Institute doesn't have one. Zimming has already received it." My mother-in-law looked at me and said sarcastically, "Life-saving medicine should come from your own people. Who knows what some people are scheming. The Yunqing Research Institute's only one in the province, probably just trying to blackmail us with false favors. Let me tell you the truth. Lin Shiyun is pregnant with the He family's first grandson. If you want a divorce, you'll leave with nothing." My mother-in-law's words hit me like a thunderclap, leaving me breathless. No wonder He Zimming was so desperate to kill us in our past lives. There was this reason behind it. Just then, a researcher hurried over, carrying a silver deep freeze. "Ms. Sue, the serum has arrived." I took the case and, without a moment's hesitation, handed it directly to Lin Shiyun. "Take it." Lin Shuryun clutched the case as if it were a treasure and turned to run, leaning against the wall. I curled my lips into a cold, unnoticed smile. This is only the beginning. He's imming. Lin Shuryun, you owe me, and I will collect every last penny with interest. The patient's condition continues to deteriorate. Where's the antivenom? The nurse asked me anxiously. Payment required. For, what the hell are you doing? Didn't you already administer the antivenom? My mother-in-law exploded. Your antivenom is useless. We've already run toxicology tests. The venom was specially modified. It's meant to kill him, the nurse said coldly. Different snake venoms act on different targets, and the antivenom differs accordingly. Using the wrong one can still be fatal. The only effective antivenom is held at Yunqing Research Institute. Didn't Ms. Su already send someone to deliver it? The antivenom was given by my mother-in-law to Lin Shuryun to save her toy poodle. I feigned anguish in the emergency room. He Zimming's condition took a sudden turn for the worse. The alarms from the medical instruments grew increasingly urgent, and doctors and nurses rushed in and out with anxious expressions. His parents stood guard at the door, their faces ashen. His father exploded with rage. How could you give the serum to Lin Shuryun? That was our son's lifeline. I didn't know it was the medicine that could save him. I just thought she was using a favor to manipulate us. How was I supposed to know it was real? His mother, frantic with tears, suddenly looked at me as if grasping at a lifeline. Qing Yan, there must be more serum, right? She patted her chest in assurance. As long as you can save Zimming's life, I swear I'll treat you like my own daughter from now on. I wish I could, Mom. I managed to squeeze out 2 drops of tears at just the right moment. But that serum is hardly common. The whole province only has this one dose. Getting a shipment from another province would take 6 or 7 hours. Far too late. Look at the mess you've made. My father-in-law raised his hand and slapped my mother-in-law, then immediately ordered his men to intercept Lin Shuryun. Seemingly affected by the oppressive atmosphere, Yao Yao stirred in my arms and whispered, Mommy, is Daddy going to die? I covered Yao Yao's mouth and said softly, No, he won't. Daddy will get better. Before long, my father-in-law's assistant returned empty-handed. Where is the serum? My father-in-law barked. I'm sorry, but by the time I got there, the serum had already been injected into that toy poodle. The assistant looked apologetic. However, I have already requested a serum dispatch from a research institute in another province in the group's name. The fastest it can arrive is 4 hours. My mother-in-law covered her face and glared at me. Why didn't you tell me this serum was so important earlier? If I'd known, would I have let Lin Shuryun take it? I looked completely innocent and played back the recording I'd just made. But Mom, you're the one who just said that for life-saving medicine, it's safer to use your own. Families. Half an hour later, the emergency room doors opened. The attending physician removed his mask, looking exhausted and regretful. I'm sorry, we did everything we could. The patient's system was too deeply invaded by the toxins and the optimal treatment window was missed. Now, before the doctor could finish, Mrs. Shen's eyes rolled back and she fainted. The corridor immediately erupted into chaos. Calmly, I handed Yao Yao to a nurse nearby and stepped forward to help apply pressure to Mrs. Shen's philtrum chairman. He forced himself to remain standing, his bloodshot eyes fixed intently on the doctor. My son, how is he? 5. The doctor sighed. His vital signs are stable for now, but the toxin has caused irreversible damage to his central nervous system. Even if he wakes up, the best possible outcome is complete paralysis and cognitive impairment. Complete paralysis, cognitive impairment. These 8 words shattered the last shred of hope in the old man's heart like a heavy hammer. He staggered back a few steps and leaned against the wall, seeming to age 10 years in an instant. Looking at his aged profile, I felt no sympathy whatsoever in my previous life. He stood by and watched He Zimming take me and Yao Yao away, without uttering a single word of objection, because Lin Shuryun was carrying He Zimming's son, and the only way to marry her without losing a cent of their assets was to get rid of me in the end. The only thing they ever loved was themselves and the He family's interests. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered, and Lin Shuryun's sharp, tearful voice came through the receiver. Su Qingyan, you lied to me. The serum you gave me was fake. Daodu is dead. The vet said the serum wasn't even the right treatment. I raised an eyebrow and asked calmly, Miss Lin, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you like. The serum was sent directly by the research institute, and so many people watched me hand it to you. How could it be fake? I don't care. It is fake. You deliberately killed my Daodu. Lin Shuryun shrieked hysterically on the other end of the line. Miss Lin, you were the one crying and begging for the serum. I have a recording. Do you really want to deny it? Also, I seriously suspect that Zimming's snakebite was no accident. I'll see you at the police station." With that, I hung up before she could respond. My father-in-law had come over at some point and was staring at me with a vicious expression. "Didn't Shuryun say that the snake that bit Zimming and Dowdu was the same species, so why did Dowdu die after using your serum?" He had clearly overheard my phone call. "Dad, this matter might not be as simple as it seems," I said calmly. "The snake that bit Zimming was specially modified. You'd never normally encounter one, and Lin Shuryun and Dowdu weren't even with us. How could they have been bitten at the same time, and coincidentally need Zimming's life-saving serum? You know, if the antivenom isn't a match for the toxin, it can also cause death." My father-in-law realized this as well. His face turned ashen, and his gaze grew terrifyingly sinister. He said nothing, just took out his phone and dialed a number. "Hello, old Zhang. I need you to look someone up for me, Lin Shuryun. Also, I want all the surveillance footage from the villa on Yunqi Mountain today." After hanging up, he looked at me with complicated eyes. "Su Qingyan, I'm sorry for what you just went through." I shook my head and lowered my gaze. "We are husband and wife, so it's not a matter of feeling wronged. I only hope that Zimming gets better." Just then, Zimming was wheeled out of the emergency room. His eyes were tightly shut, his face as pale as gold paper, and his body was covered with various tubes. He was nothing like the vigorous and competent person he usually was. Looking at him, only one thought crossed my mind. Zimming, this is just the interest. The real show is yet to come. Zimming was transferred to the ICU, under 24-hour monitoring. The He family was in complete chaos. While I took Yao Yao and temporarily checked into a hotel near the hospital, I needed a quiet environment to plan my next move. The next morning, my legal team arrived. I had brought them in overnight from the capital, top-tier, ace attorneys in the industry. "Mr. Wang, the first thing I need you to do is to audit all the joint assets under He Zimming's and my names, as well as the entire transaction history of his personal accounts. Second, I want you to file an application for asset preservation with the court on my behalf. Third, help me prepare a divorce agreement." Mr. Wang looked at me, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but quickly returned to his professional demeanor. "Mrs. He, are you sure? Given Mr. He's current condition, filing for divorce could affect your reputation, 6, I'm sure." I interrupted him. "I only care about the result. I'll bear the process and the cost myself." Attorney Wang nodded. "I understand." After he left, I received a call from Chairman He. "Su Qingyan, come to the hospital. Zimming is awake." My heart stirred, knowing it was my time to step in. When I arrived at the hospital, outside the ICU ward, only Chairman He was there. He looked 10 years older, his face etched with exhaustion. "He's in very bad shape. He's delirious, rambling nonstop." Through the glass window, I saw He Zimming lying on the hospital bed, his eyes wide open and bloodshot, his face frozen in extreme fear. His lips were twitching continuously, as if he were shouting something. I moved closer and made out the words he was shouting. "Snakes, so many snakes. Qingyan, Yao Yao, don't come near." My heart sank violently. Was he remembering the scene from his previous life? He Zimming's reaction caught me off guard. I thought he would live out his days like a ruined man, resigned to his fate. I never expected him to awaken with the memories of his past life, or rather, the terror of his final moments. This is truly wonderful. Chairman He watched his son's frantic state, his heart racked with pain. The doctor said these are after effects of nerve damage caused by the toxin, which can produce hallucinations. I nodded to show that I understood. Then, I pushed open the door to the hospital room and walked in. When He Zimming saw me, his pupils suddenly contracted, and his body began to tremble violently. He tried to shrink back, but because he was completely paralyzed, he couldn't move at all, and could only let out a hoarse, trapped animal-like roar. "Su Qingyan, you." His voice was hoarse and broken, filled with fear. I walked to his bedside, leaned down, and said softly, in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Yes, it's me. Bet you didn't expect us to meet again. Aren't you wondering why it was you, not Yao Yao, who got bitten by the snake? Because I personally pushed you over to it." He Zimming's eyes widened as if they might burst, and the monitor tracking his heart rate let out a sharp, piercing alarm. You venomous woman." He squeezed out the words with what little strength he had left. "Venomous woman." I smiled so hard tears nearly came out. "Compared to what you've done, I'm still far behind." He Zimming, do you remember that snake pit? Yao Yao and I were in there, slowly crushed to death by all those snakes. I leaned close to his ear. "Listen, can you still hear the sound of bones cracking?" Those were Yao Yao's. She was only 5 years old. "Ah." He Zimming let out a shrill scream, then rolled his eyes back and fainted again. Nurses and doctors rushed in, and the ward descended Into chaos once more. I slowly straightened up, looking at the man being resuscitated, the smile at the corner of my mouth icy cold to the bone. He's imming. Don't be in such a hurry to pass out, your retribution has only just begun. When I came out of the ICU, Chairman, he was looking at me with an extremely complicated expression. What did you say to him? 7. I remained expressionless. I just told him that Yao Yao and I are doing well, and that he should rest and recuperate. Chairman, he clearly didn't believe me, but he couldn't find any evidence either. Zimming fell into a coma again, and his condition was worse than before. The doctor said he had suffered a severe psychological shock. As for what caused the shock, only Zimming and I knew. Over the next few days, I played the part of a devoted wife at the hospital while pushing Lawyer Wang's team to speed up their efforts. Soon, the first investigation report was placed on my desk. My whole body trembled with rage as I read its contents. Zimming is even more shameless than I ever imagined. Starting from the second year of our marriage, under the guise of various investments and financial management, he gradually transferred nearly 50 million yuan from our joint account, and all of that money eventually flowed into a single account. The account holder was Lin Shiyun. Not only did he buy cars, houses, and luxury goods for Lin Shiyun, but he even set up a personal studio for her. As for me, his lawful wife, I drive the old car he discarded 3 years ago, live on the grudging allowance he gives for household expenses, and still bear his children and manage all the housework. What infuriates me even more is that Lawyer Wang discovered that Zimming has planted several loyalists in the company my father left me, and is even trying to sideline me in order to take over the company. Fortunately, I have been reborn. Otherwise, not only will Yao Yao and I die without a place to be buried, but the last bit of effort my parents left behind will also be swallowed up by that filthy couple. I put away the report, my gaze cold as ice. Zimming, Lin Shiyun, since you have no conscience, don't blame me for playing dirty. Chairman, his investigation had also reached its conclusion. He found out that the venomous snake that bit Zimming came from Lin Shiyun, and her target was Yao Yao, and Lin Shiyun's toy poodle had never been bitten by a snake at all. After taking the anti-venom from the hospital, she went straight to the vet and injected the dog. As a result, the dog died on the spot from an allergic reaction to the medication. The reason she shouted at me over the phone, claiming the serum was fake, was simply to shift all the blame onto me. When Chairman he learned the truth, he was so furious that he smashed his beloved purple clay teapot on the spot. He immediately sent someone to look for Lin Shiyun, only to find that she had vanished into thin air. The studio was closed, the apartment was sold, and she was nowhere to be reached. That wretched woman, I won't let her get away with this. Chairman, he roared at me over the phone. I listened calmly, but inwardly I sneered. Run, Lin Shiyun, do you really think you can get away? 8. I hung up the phone and sent a message to Lawyer Wang. You can start the second phase of the plan now. The next day, a bombshell news story exploded across Xinjiang's financial circles and social networks. Group heir Zimming commits marital infidelity, transfers vast wealth to mistress Lin Shiyun. The news included not only intimate photos of Zimming and Lin Shiyun from various occasions, but also the record of the 50 million yuan transfer, as well as purchase receipts for all the properties and luxury cars under Lin Shiyun's name. The evidence was conclusive and ironclad. Shares of the He Group plummeted in response. In an instant, the He family became the laughingstock of all Yunqing. Chairman, he was overwhelmed, juggling the corporate crisis while fending off the media onslaught. Mrs. He, on the other hand, completely broke down and was hospitalized. As the biggest victim in this storm, I received everyone's sympathy. I seized the moment to give an exclusive interview to a reputable media outlet. On camera, my face was gaunt, my eyes sorrowful, yet I still carried myself with grace. I did not cry out accusations or complain. I simply spoke calmly about how Zimming and I fell in love, married, and arrived at this betrayal. I once believed that I had the most perfect love and marriage in the world. It wasn't until the day my husband gave up his own chance to live for another woman and her dog that I realized it had all been an illusion. I don't know what happened between them, and I no longer want to find out. My only wish now is for my daughter to grow up healthy and happy. My interview added fresh fuel to the fire. Everyone felt it was unfair for me. This considerate, forbearing wife who puts the greater good first. The criticism against Zimming and Lin Shiyun reached its peak. Just then, Lawyer Wang told me that Lin Shiyun had been found. She was hiding in a rental apartment in a neighboring city, tracked down by outraged netizens. When she went out to buy something, someone doused her with paint in the street and slapped her several times. After the photos were posted online, everyone was overjoyed, but I knew this was far from enough. I had Lawyer Wang formally file a lawsuit against Lin Shiyun in court on the grounds of embezzling marital property. I wanted her to spit back every penny she had taken, not a cent less. The court summons was delivered to Lin Shuryun. Along with it came a legal letter from the He Group chairman. He demanded 100 million in compensation from her on the grounds of commercial fraud and reputational damage. Lin Shuryun completely fell apart. She had no money left, and all the property and cars under her name had been frozen. Following my application for asset preservation, she tried to plead with the He family for mercy, but couldn't even get through their front gate. With no other options left, she made the most foolish decision. She contacted the media, saying she would hold a press conference to clear up all the misunderstandings. At the press conference, she wept bitterly, painting herself as a victim madly devoted to love. Ziming and I are truly in love. I'm even carrying the He family's first grandson. It's Su Qingyan. She used her child to trap Ziming, and she refused to divorce him, which caused this tragedy. Ziming never loved her. Their marriage was a mistake, and as for that serum, Su Qingyan willingly gave it to me. It was Madame He's idea. It had nothing to do with me at all. Her twisting of right and wrong not only failed to win any sympathy but instead stirred up even greater public outrage. Sitting in my hotel room, I couldn't help but sneer. Lin Shuryun, I've been waiting for you to dig your own grave. I had lawyer Wang release the recording from outside the hospital room to the public. Faced with irrefutable evidence, all her lies crumbled on their own. She became a complete laughingstock, a vicious, greedy, and shameless homewrecker. The final straw that crushed her came from the police report. The police announcement revealed that the venomous snake was purchased jointly by He Ziming and Lin Shuryun, and their target was me and Yao Yao. Following the clues, the police raided and dismantled a massive illegal wildlife trafficking and modification ring. The truth had finally come to light. Lin Shuryun was sentenced to 15 years in prison on multiple charges. Although He Ziming was granted medical parole due to ongoing treatment, his reputation was utterly destroyed. He went from being the favored son of heaven to a universally despised cheater who had attempted to murder his wife and daughter. As for me, I successfully divorced He Ziming on the day I signed the papers. I visited the ICU one last time. He Ziming was already awake. He couldn't move or speak, but his eyes, like venom-laced daggers, bore into me with deadly intensity. I walked to his bedside and spread the divorce papers out in front of him. He Ziming, we are divorced. From now on, you and I have nothing to do with each other. Seeing the raging hatred in his eyes, I smiled. Don't look at me like that. Everything you have now, you brought upon yourself. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you one more thing, 9. I leaned down and whispered in his ear, slowly and deliberately, so that only the two of us could hear. Your little scheme has been exposed. Your poetry-loving sister has already gone in and is now behind the sewing machine. But don't worry, I've already sent someone to take good care of her. He Ziming suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes bulging wide as he stared at me, his body beginning to convulse violently. The monitoring instruments let out another piercing alarm. I straightened up and watched coldly as doctors and nurses crowded around him. He Ziming, live in this endless purgatory, day and night, tasting the suffering I endured in my previous life. This, and only this, is my cruelest revenge on you. I sold off all the real estate the He family had allocated to me and left Cloud City with Yao Yao, relying on my experience from the previous life and the ample capital of this life. I quickly established myself in the business world. Yao Yao started a new kindergarten, made new friends, and gradually forgot those unpleasant memories. She remained innocent and radiant, the only light in my life. Occasionally, through old acquaintances, I would hear news of the He family. The He Group had been severely weakened, a shadow of its former self. Chairman He took early retirement and handed the company over to professional managers. Madame He, on the other hand, spent her days reciting Buddhist scriptures and fasting, paying no heed to worldly matters. As for He Ziming, the He family sent him to a top-tier sanatorium abroad, using the most expensive medicines and instruments to keep him alive. I thought my story with them had already ended until a year later, I received a call from Chairman He. His voice was old and weary. Qingyan, can you come back for a while? Ziming, he doesn't have much time left, 10. In the end, I still came back to Cloud City not because I had softened, but because I wanted to watch He Ziming take his last breath with my own eyes. The nursing home reeked of disinfectant. I found He Ziming in a private room. He was nothing but skin and bones, eyes sunken, complexion ashen, like a mummy ready to crumble at any moment. Only his eyes still held a venomous gleam when they landed on me. I sent everyone away, leaving the two of us alone in the room. I pulled up a chair and sat by his bed. I heard you're dying. A hoarse sound came from his throat, as if he were laughing and crying at the same time. I took a photo out of my bag and held it in front of him. In the photo, Yao Yao was beaming brightly. Look, Yao Yao has grown taller and become even more beautiful. She's learning piano and ballet now and is very talented. Her teacher says she could become a great dancer in the future. Lin Shuryun has also given birth to her child, and it really is a boy, but that child, blonde hair and blue eyes, clearly isn't yours. Ha 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 ha. Your mother was so upset that she died. Your father is utterly exhausted and has been diagnosed with liver cancer. With every word I spoke, the light in his Iming's eyes dimmed a little more. He's Iming, do you regret it? I looked at him and asked the final question. He did not answer. He just stared fixedly at Nyen Nyen in the photograph, and 2 streams of tears rolled down from his murky eyes. I did not know who those tears were for, whether for himself, or for the daughter he had killed with his own hands, but none of that mattered anymore. I stood up and put away the photo. May you find your way. When you get down there, remember to say sorry to me and Yao Yao. I turned and walked out of the hospital room without looking back. Behind him, the line representing life on the ECG monitor flattened into a straight line, emitting a piercing, continuous alarm. He Ziming was dead. Stepping out of the sanatorium, the sunlight was blinding. I raised my head and took a deep breath. In the air was the taste of freedom. It was all over. My phone rang. It was a video call from Yao Yao. On the screen, she was wearing a beautiful princess dress, twirling happily in the sunlight. Mom, when are you coming back? Yao Yao misses you. Looking at my daughter's innocent, smiling face, my eyes grew warm and I smiled. Mom will be back very soon. After hanging up, I drove to the airport, the capital, my daughter, my brand new life. They were all waiting for me. As for those dark days of the past, let them be buried forever in this city, together with He Ziming. The end. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away. The next stories are even more exciting. In the late 1970s, my father used all his connections to secure me a quota to return to the city. Gu Zian, a sent-down youth who had been in the same rural program as me, proposed to me that same day. After we married, we returned to the city together. We were deeply in love. I bore him children and helped him achieve fame and success. But during a trip, while I was suffering from an asthma attack, he threw away my medicine and watched me struggle between life and death. He said viciously, if you hadn't used your return quota to force me into marriage back then, I wouldn't have broken up with Zhang Jing. Then she wouldn't have married a scoundrel and been beaten to death in that village. She died in such agony, while you've lived happily for decades. Now you'll taste her pain too. Only then did I realize that he had hated me for decades, all for the sake of the lost love of his life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I received my father's telegram. Marry him, marry him. The screams and jeers of the onlookers jolted me awake. I found myself standing at the entrance of the educated youth station at the village entrance, with Gu Zian in front of me, looking nervous. His face flushed red as he said, Qin Jiji, I've liked you for a long time. I promise you, if we get married, I will treat you well, cherish you, and never let you be wronged. I was stunned. I had been reborn, back to 40 years ago. I had just received my father's telegram saying he had secured a spot for me to return to the city. Trembling with excitement, I stared at Gu Zian in front of me. This man had caused my death in my past life, but this time I would not give him any chance. I took a step back and looked at Gu Zian. Behind him stood Zhang Jing, her eyes filled with tears, clutching the corner of her own clothes. Only later did I learn that by then, the two of them had already secretly pledged to spend their lives together. When my father sent a telegram in my previous life, the city had just introduced a new regulation. If educated youth were already married, those returning to the city could bring their families back with them. Upon learning this news, Gu Zian immediately proposed to me, coaxed me into getting a marriage certificate, and smoothly returned to the city with me. In the eyes of others, Gu Zian had 2 close female educated youth, Zhang Jing and me. When he proposed to me, everyone thought he had finally seen his true feelings and chose me. Little did they know, he was only doing it for himself, using me to return to the city, proposing to me, and then finding a way to transfer Zhang Jing back to the city. But he didn't have the ability to secure a spot for returning to the city, and since his job still depended on my father, he didn't dare to speak up. Zhang Jing had no choice but to stay in the village, yet he blamed the whole thing on me. I shivered all over now, listening to the teasing around me and looking at Gu Zian in front of me. I clutched the telegram tightly in my hand and took a step back. Gu Zian, aren't you with Zhang Jing? Why are you suddenly proposing to me? How can you be so unfaithful? What about Zhang Jing? What should I do? Look, she's about to cry. You need to comfort her. I saw Zhang Jing frozen, mouth open, staring at me. Gu Zian, flustered, hurriedly explained, who said that? How could I ever be with Zhang Jing? The one I've always loved is you, not her. Believe me, Gigi. Zhang Jing's face went pale instantly, tears welling up in her eyes. I tilted my head and smiled, saying, "But that day, I saw you two hugging in the sunning yard, and I thought you had already made your relationship official." The educated youths and villagers watching began buzzing among themselves. "No way, Guzian and Zhang Jing are in a relationship, and now he's proposing to Qin Jiji. I saw that male educated youth holding hands with that girl Zhang Jing over by the cornfield last time, right out in broad daylight. Right. I also saw them kissing by the river when I was on night watch. So shameful." "No way, didn't Zhang Jing act all aloof? Usually in the dorm she'd say Guzian came from a poor family and couldn't get her back to the city, and that she didn't want to be with him, so they've been together all along." Zhang Jing's face turned crimson, tears falling as she sobbed. "Qin Jiji, I know we both had feelings for Guzian. Now that he's proposed to you, you've won. But you don't have to humiliate me like this. When was I ever with Guzian? We're simply fellow educated youth sent to the countryside, nothing more than comrades. You must have mistaken me for someone else. How could I possibly have a romantic relationship with Guzian?" Zhang Jing was pretty, and had always been very popular among the male educated youth. Seeing her crying pitifully now, some of the male educated youth began to doubt my words and stepped forward to defend her. "Qin Jiji, don't talk nonsense without evidence. Zhang Jing already said she has nothing to do with Guzian, nothing to do with him." "Exactly, don't start bullying people just because you can return to the city. Besides, didn't you usually quite like Guzian? Now that he's confessed to you, why are you playing hard to get? Don't pretend to be so aloof and virtuous." Guzian was all smiles. He reached out to put his arm around me and said, "Alright, Gigi is too shy to say yes in front of all of you. Our Branch is rather shy, so I'll take that as her saying yes. Branch, don't worry, I'll treat you well from now on." I quickly stepped back to avoid his hand. "Guzian, I'm not embarrassed, nor do I plan to accept your marriage proposal. After I confessed to you last time and you rejected me in public, I decided to let go. I think you should face your true feelings. If you like someone, you need to say it bravely. Although Zhang Jing thinks you're not good enough for her, you're so devoted to her. If you tell her, it will surely move her. Don't you have a notebook filled with drawings of Zhang Jing? When you rejected me last time, you even showed it to me, and I said I would wish you both well." I had seen Guzian's notebook in my previous life. It was always kept in a locked drawer in his study. Once, when he forgot to lock it, I saw it, a thick notebook filled entirely with drawings of Zhang Jing. He nervously explained that back in his younger days, he had a secret crush on Zhang Jing for a while and had quietly drawn many portraits of her to show that it was all in the past. He threw the notebook into the trash can right in front of me, but when I took out the trash the next day, the notebook was gone. I suspect he fished it back out and carefully hid it in another, more concealed place. I pretended to suddenly understand. "I get it now. You proposed to me just to make Zhang Jing jealous, right? That way, his actions could all be explained." The moment I said that, Guzian panicked completely. I saw that the notebook in his hand was exactly that one, so I stepped forward. I snatched the notebook and rushed to Zhang Jing with an innocent look. "Zhang Jing, look, this is the portrait Guzian drew for you, a whole book of them." I opened it in front of everyone, and sure enough, it was filled with portraits of Zhang Jing. One of the educated youths snatched it and flipped through. "Oh my god, a whole book, how devoted." "Yeah, Zhang Jing, Guzian truly likes you. Just say yes to him." "Right, look, over 100 portraits, so touching. Besides, since neither of you can return to the city, getting married here would give you some support." This statement made Zhang Qing and Guzian's faces turn completely dark. They had made a plan for Guzian to coax me into marrying him, return to the city together, and then have Guzian use my father's connections to get her back there. If Guzian couldn't marry me, their entire plan would fall through. Watching Guzian's face turn as black as the bottom of a pot, I nearly burst out laughing. I took the arm of Luanen, a female educated youth who shared my dormitory, and said, "Alright, let's head back to the dorm. Guzian, I wish you and Zhang Jing happiness. Be brave and pursue your true love." Guzian suddenly rushed over trying to grab me, and said angrily, "Qin Jiji, are you playing games with me? Weren't you the one who's been chasing me all along? I've agreed to marry you now, so what's the meaning of this?" A young educated man couldn't stand it anymore, stepped forward to block him. "Guzian, feelings require mutual consent. Qin Jiji said that after you rejected her, she has let go completely." "What? You mean only you're allowed to reject others, and they have to hang themselves on your crooked tree?" The one who spoke was Xie Jian, an educated youth from our same batch. He was always carefree and didn't like talking to female educated youths, so I didn't expect him to actually help me. "Exactly, Guzian, she pursued you, but didn't you turn her down? You Expect her to say yes just because you propose. That's completely unreasonable. Listening to everyone's remarks, Guzian's face flushed red and then turned pale. Finally, unable to hold back, he threw a punch at Xie. He fell to the ground. I stopped him. What are you doing? Guzian sneered. You won't agree to marry me. Is it because you're with him? Everyone knows Xie's father is a big official. Are you hoping that if his father gets reinstated someday, you'll have latched onto a rich branch? Give up on that dream. His father has been sent off to God knows where for re-education. Stop daydreaming. Slap. I slapped him across the face. Guzian, I won't agree to marry you because I've seen through your petty, selfish nature. You only ever think of yourself. Why do you want to marry me? Isn't it just to get back to the city through our marriage? Do you think I don't know about the notice that just arrived in the village? How dare you claim you haven't received it and shown it to everyone? Going back. If educated youths from the city were already married, they could bring their families back to the city. My words set off an uproar among the educated youths. No way. When did this notice come out? Guzian, show us the notice. Why are you keeping it? He really is a petty man. No wonder he rejected Qin Jiji and got all close with Zhang Jing some time ago, only to propose today. All for the sake of returning to the city. Shameless. Absolutely shameless. That bastard. I stepped forward, helped Xie up, and wiped the dust off his face. Xie, are you okay? Come on, let me get you some medicine. With that, leaving Guzian surrounded by the other educated youths, I took Xie by the hand and walked away. Xie was still laughing while I applied the medicine. I thought you might actually say yes to his proposal, the way you were just now. That's more like the temper you had back in the city. I gave him a suspicious look. Do we know each other from before? He rolled his eyes. You don't remember the kid in the courtyard who used to shoot your backpack with a slingshot, just because I left the courtyard with my parents for a few years? Your memory is really terrible. An image appeared in my mind. A chubby boy who bullied me with a slingshot on the way to school. I dabbed red antiseptic hard onto his face. So it was you. I can't believe I didn't recognize you. Why haven't you ever mentioned that you knew me? Xie pursed his lips. You only had eyes for Guzian. Clearly you're an idiot, and I don't talk to idiots. I thought about what Guzian had said, and asked him, your dad was sent to the countryside. He was silent for a moment. Yeah, far away, went to the northeast. My mom's been sick in the city, all alone. There's no one to even give her medicine, and I can't go back. I thought of Aunt Liang from when we were kids, gentle, always comforting me with candy whenever Xie made me cry, scolding Xie to stand up for me. No standalone text for translation, merged with ID4 for fluency. I stared at him blankly and suddenly spoke. Xie, what if we got married? That way you could go back to the city to take care of your mom, and I wouldn't have to deal with Guzian chasing after me and trying to marry me, comma, no standalone text for translation, merged with ID6 for fluency. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed like killing two birds with one stone, and Xie was completely unpredictable. If I married him, Guzian would never dare come near me again. Stick with me. Even if I get married, it will still take some time to go through the procedures for returning to the city, and who knows what might go wrong in between. Xie opened his mouth wide, and after a long moment said, Qin Jiji, if you want me to help you beat up Guzian, I can do that. You don't have to offer yourself as a sacrifice. I shot him a look. So are you going to marry me or not? If not, I'll find someone else. With this golden ticket of a city return slot, plenty of male-educated youths would want to marry me. Xie stood up. Fine, let's get married. Let's go handle the paperwork. If you're not afraid, why should I be? We quickly completed the procedures and got our marriage certificate. I let out a long sigh of relief. In this life, I have finally shaken off Guzian. I'm no longer afraid of him harming me. I will make him stay in this village forever, watching me leave happily from then on. He never crossed paths with her again. Xie and I completed the formalities without telling anyone else. We planned to hold a make-up wedding banquet once we returned to the city. Since here, we were about to leave anyway, so there was no need. Xie took out a few dollars and bought some fruit drops to hand out to the educated youths as wedding candy. As I was passing out the candy, Guzian and Zhang Jing came in from outside. Seeing the fruit drops in my hand, he smirked smugly. Did you go and buy these fruit drops just for me? You still remember I like this apple flavor. You rejected me in public this morning, and now you're buying candy to win me over. Let me tell you, Qin Jiji, don't think that just because you bought a few pieces of candy to sweet-talk me, I'll forgive you that easily. It's not that I can't forgive you and agree to marry you, it's just that I have conditions. I looked at him helplessly and was about to interrupt his wishful thinking. This candy, He raised his hand to cut me off. What you said this morning damaged Zhang Jing's reputation. You need to apologize to her in front of the whole village, and as compensation, after you return to the city, you must have your father get another urban resettlement quota for her and bring her back to the city as well. If you can do all that, we'll go get our marriage certificate tomorrow. He looked thoroughly smug. Zhang Jing tugged at his hand, just getting the resettlement quota is fine. Apologizing in front of the whole village, I'm afraid Gigi might not be willing. After all, girls are more sensitive. How about she just apologizes to me right here? Gu Ziyan looked at her. You're just too kind-hearted and soft. Then he turned to me. So, Qin Gigi, you apologize to Zhang Jing right here. Then send a telegram to your father to get another spot for returning to the city. As soon as your father agrees, we'll get married immediately. A sent-down youth spoke up. Gu Ziyan, these are Qin Gigi and Xie Jian's wedding candies. They just got their marriage certificate. Gu Ziyan was stunned. What marriage certificate? Qin Gigi, how could you marry another man? Didn't you say you've liked me since the first time we met, and that you only wanted to be with me for the rest of your life? Then you turn around and marry another man. You really are fickle. Zhang Jing quickly and gently tried to calm him. Don't be like this. Gigi must have misunderstood the relationship between you and me and gotten jealous. She's definitely not the kind of person who plays both sides. Don't say such harsh things. She just got married, after all. Then she looked at me and said, Gigi, Gu Ziyan and I are just purely friends. You've misunderstood. He still likes you. After saying that, she tugged at his sleeve. Gu Ziyan looked down at me arrogantly and said, fine. I forgive you for losing your temper and arguing with me. Go get the divorce certificate with Xie Jian and I will still marry you. Xie Jian clenched his fist next to him and said, telling my wife to divorce me right in front of my face. Are you tired of living? With that, he grabbed Gu Ziyan by the collar and was about to hit him. I quickly stopped him. Xie Jian, don't hit him. Gu Ziyan smiled smugly. See, even now, she's still defending me. She doesn't like you at all. I stopped Xie Jian and said, he insulted me. If anyone's throwing a punch, it'll be me. With that, I slapped him hard. Shut your filthy mouth. The thing I regret most in this life, no, in both this life and my last, is ever knowing you, ever liking you. But luckily, it's not too late. I opened the marriage certificate and held it in front of him. Take a good look. I'm married. Xie Jian and I are legal husband and wife. We'll be heading back to the city soon. Gu Ziyan, I hope you and Zhang Jing can find happiness here too. You can stay here, in the place you hate most, toiling with your face to the soil and your back to the sky, for the rest of your life. My words became the final straw that broke him. He grabbed me tightly and said, no way, there's no way you ever liked Huan Xie Jian. You know full well that I'm the one you really like. If you're worried about Zhang Jing, I can ignore her from now on. You need to tell Xie Jian right now that you want to divorce him and marry me. Then we can go back to the city together once we're married, Gigi. His eyes were bloodshot as he shouted, bang, with a single blow. Xie Jian knocked Gu Ziyan to the ground. Are you treating me like I'm dead? I'm right here breathing, and you're telling my wife to divorce me and marry you? What the hell is wrong with your head? She already said she doesn't like you. Can't you understand plain speech? Gigi and I grew up together as childhood sweethearts. You're nothing. Gu Ziyan got to his feet and lunged at Xie Jian, the two of them grappling. By the time the village chief stepped in to separate them, Gu Ziyan's face was so swollen from the beating that it looked like a pig's head. The village chief shook his head and sighed. Gu Ziyan, just because Qin Gigi won't go out with you doesn't mean you can start trouble. She's getting married now. Are you trying to break up someone else's family? That kind of thinking just won't do. Come to my place tonight, and I'll help you work through it. As I passed by Zhang Jing, I pretended to talk to Xie Jian. It seems there are a few other educated youths heading back to the city with us. Right, we should ask the village chief who else is going, so we'll have company on the road. Then I saw Zhang Jing's expression shift as she lowered her head. I sneered inwardly. The fish has taken the bait. The news that Gu Ziyan had thrown a huge fight with Xie Jian over my marriage spread like wildfire through the educated youth farmstead. Everyone who looked at him pointed and whispered. Pointing and whispering, didn't he reject Qin Gigi back when she liked him? Oh, you don't know. That guy just wants to get married so he can return to the city. Who knows if he really likes her? Isn't he also quite close with Zhang Jing? He's playing both sides. Such a womanizer. He was so embarrassed by the gossip, and with the wounds on his face, he simply pretended to be sick and stayed in the dorm, not going out. And while he was hiding indoors, Zhang Jing started making her moves. Getting very close with another educated youth from a different work unit. Xie Jian and I had been busy preparing to return to the city, so I hadn't paid attention to their affairs. It was Luanan who finally came and told me Zhang Jing had a falling out with Gu Ziyan and was about to marry another male-educated youth. It turned out that Gu Ziyan had been hiding in his room nursing his wounds for a few days. The first thing he did after coming out was to look for Zhang Jing, the educated youth hesitated and told him that Zhang Jing rarely stayed at the farm headquarters anymore. She spent every day hanging around with people from the neighboring educated youth farm headquarters. Gu Ziyan went to find Zhang Jing but ran into Qi Feng, the other male-educated youth, walking her back to the farm headquarters. The two were very intimate. He had originally intended to ask Zhang Jing why she had switched her affection to someone else, but instead, Qi Feng humiliated him. Qi Feng said that Gu Ziyan was just slandering Zhang Jing because his own crush on her had failed. He also told him that he and Zhang Jing had already confirmed their relationship and were planning to get a marriage license. Gu Ziyan never expected that in just one short week, Zhang Jing would transfer her affection to another male-educated youth and even plan to someone else got married. At night, I saw Gu Ziyan go find Zhang Jing. He pulled her under the eaves outside and questioned her bluntly. Zhang Jing, why do you suddenly want to marry someone else? Have you forgotten about us? You're my girlfriend. Zhang Jing gave a cold snort. Weren't you the one who said in front of everyone that the person you like is Qin Jiji? Gu Ziyan explained. Isn't that what we agreed on? I'd trick her into marrying me first, and once we're back in the city, we'd find a way to make her father get you another spot. Zhang Jing laughed. No need, marrying Qi Feng will get me back to the city right away. Honestly, we're really not a good match. From the very beginning, I told you, we come from different family backgrounds, and our ways of thinking are too different. It's fine if things are like this now. You can't return to the city, so I'll have to figure things out on my own. You can't just block someone else's way just because you're stuck yourself. Gu Ziyan grabbed her tightly. I did it all for you. I rejected Qin Jiji because of you. How could you do this to me? I'm left here all alone. What am I supposed to do if it weren't for you promising me so firmly that we'd be together? I would never have ended up in this mess. Zhang Jing broke free from his grasp. You have no one to blame but yourself for your own incompetence, yet you blame me. If you hadn't told me you had a way, would I have ever become your girl, friend? Anyway, it's not like you've lost anything. Let's just leave it at that. Don't come looking for me anymore, or Qi Feng will be upset. He and I are getting married soon. From now on, we're just ordinary friends. With that, she entered the female dormitory and slammed the door shut. Gu Ziyan collapsed on the ground and suddenly let out a heart-wrenching cry. No, I won't break up with you. Zhang Jing, you can't marry someone else. The commotion drew all the nearby educated youths out to watch the drama. Watching them argue from inside the room, Xie Jian and I felt a surge of satisfaction. In the previous life, he had schemed against me. This time, all his plans had fallen through. I wanted to see how he would clean up the mess. A month later, Zhang Jing and Qi Feng indeed got married. Qi Feng generously bought lots of wedding candies and biscuits, and also gave money to the village chief to add extra dishes for all the educated youths at the farm headquarters, as a way to celebrate their wedding feast. Just as everyone was happily eating, I walked in holding a beautifully wrapped box and placed it in front of Qi Feng and Zhang Jing. This is a wedding gift for you both. One never strikes a smiling face. Zhang Jing, with everyone watching, opened the gift box with a smile. The moment she opened it, her face fell. Qin Jiji, what do you mean by this? Everyone leaned in to look. Inside was a pair of worn-out shoes. Sending worn-out shoes at a wedding. Everyone understood the implication. The educated youths erupted in an uproar, all craning their necks to see. I pointed at Zhang Jing in her red dress, looking at Qi Feng with sympathy. You're marrying Zhang Jing, do you know she used to be Gu Ziyan's girlfriend? They had already pledged to marry each other long ago. You're just picking up the worn-out shoes someone else has worn. You think she's some kind of innocent. She's marrying you just to return to the city. Do you think she's as pure as a little white rabbit? She's ruthless. To get back to the city, this woman didn't hesitate to have her own boyfriend pursue me, trying to trick me into marriage, so that they went back to the city together. Now that he sees no hope of returning to the city with me, he immediately latches onto you instead, and you think you've struck gold. Qi Feng's face twisted with rage as he grabbed Zhang Jing. Tell me, is what Qin Jiji said true? Are you and Gu Ziyan involved in something improper? Zhang Jing wept pitifully. Don't you know what kind of person I am? I'm your wife, yet you stand by and let people wrong me and even slap my face. What good is marrying a man like you? Gu Ziyan was already furious after being dumped by her, and now seeing me present him with a pair of worn-out shoes. He seized the opportunity and shouted, Zhang Jing, you won't admit you were my girlfriend. I have proof. Qi Feng, doesn't she have a peach blossom birthmark on her inner thigh? If she and I hadn't intimate relationship. How could I know? The educated youth group erupted with a wow, buzzing with excitement. With a smack, Chi Feng slapped Zhang Jing across the face. You slut, you tricked me into marriage. I didn't. No, you were this kind of person. I want a divorce. Zhang Jing cried and kicked up a fuss. He's lying. How can you believe them? If you divorce me, I won't go on living. I'll go back to the city and report you for seducing and abandoning me. The village head watched the group of educated youth devolve into a complete mess, fuming with rage. Gu Ziyan and Zhang Jing, those two bad apples, had stirred up the entire educated youth contingent in the village, disrupting the peace and corrupting morale. He loudly halted the commotion, then pointed at Chi Feng and Zhang Jing and said, I'm already married, and my paperwork to return to the city is all set. I'm leaving next week. You're going back to the city. Whether you two divorce or not is none of my business, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not happening here. Then he looked at Gu Ziyan. If you're willing to behave yourself, you can stay in the village, but if you keep causing trouble, I'll transfer you to another depot. 1. Up in the mountains. When that happens, don't even think about returning to the city. You won't even be able to leave the mountains. Think it over and for yourself. If you make any more trouble, I'll report you to my superiors and say you have problematic thinking. Then, forget about going back to the city. You won't have anything to hope for. The village chief left in a huff. Chi Feng shook off Zhang Jing's hand and walked away on his own. Zhang Jing chased after him, crying, Chi Feng, he's just slandering you because he can't have you. Despise me, just trust me, she cried as she chased after him and ran off into the distance. Gu Ziyan drank himself drunk at the dinner table, muttering, I will definitely make it back to the city, no doubt about it. Don't even think about leaving me behind. I finally let out a long, deep sigh of relief. The next day, I boarded the train back to the city with Xie Jian. After we returned to the city, the street office arranged jobs for us, Xie Jian and I had a small home of our own, and we became true husband and wife. He had matured a lot, no longer reckless as in his youth, and had become a considerate family man under our attentive care. After returning, his mother's health gradually recovered, and she began to have the energy to fuss over when we would have children. The next summer, I became pregnant, and our little home was filled with laughter. When I went to the hospital for my prenatal checkup, I unexpectedly ran into Gu Ziyan. My heart sank. How had he managed to return to the city? Honey, what are you looking at? A stout, overweight woman called out from behind him, her belly big with child. Gu Ziyan quickly turned around and forced a smile. Sweetheart, I just saw someone who looked like an old friend, and I stared for a moment, but then they disappeared. Are you done with your checkup? Let's go, the woman said coquettishly. Don't you go looking at other women. I know you have a wandering eye. If I find out you've done anything to betray me, I'll tell my father, then you'll be sorry. Gu Ziyan lowered his head and gently coaxed the woman. How could I? I've told you, my heart and eyes are only for you. Why are you jealous? Could any other woman be as virtuous and attentive as you? The woman cheered up. You're all talk. When we get to my place, remember to say something nice to my father, and try to get your job arranged. Only later did I learn that after we left, new educated youths were sent to the countryside. This woman was named Li Yu. Her father had been an official but was later sent to the countryside. Yet just after Li Yu arrived in the village, the notice of her father's reinstatement came out, but she couldn't return to the city right away. It would look bad. Then Gu Ziyan got wind of this news and began hovering around Li Yu attentively, launching an ardent pursuit. Gu Ziyan was handsome, and Li Yu was soon swept off her feet by his sweet talk. Within 3 months, they had secretly pledged their lives to each other, and Gu Ziyan was coaxed into a dizzy marriage. When Li Yu's father found out, though he disapproved, he had no choice but to accept this son-in-law and return to the city with them. Li Yu's father arranged a job for her, but Gu Ziyan's job kept being delayed. Gu Ziyan could only stay home every day doing household chores. Just then, Li Yu became pregnant, and he had to accompany her to the hospital for prenatal checkups every week. After Gu Ziyan saw me at the hospital, he somehow found out that I worked at a school and waited for me at the school gate. I looked at him and hesitated for a moment. Is something the matter? Only then did he notice my protruding belly. His face darkened. You're pregnant. I touched my belly and laughed. That's right. I've been married for over a year now, so it's perfectly normal to be pregnant. What about you? Judging by your wife's belly, she must be 6 or 7 months along. I heard you haven't been married long either. Was it a shotgun wedding? His expression turned awkward. I had no choice. If I hadn't married her, I would have had no way to return to the city. You expect me to spend my whole life stuck in that rural village. If you had married me back then, I wouldn't have ended up. I cut him off. Gu Ziyan, whether you can return to the city is your own problem. Why should I sacrifice my happiness to pave the way for you? Lots of people can't leave the countryside, but they still work hard and live their lives. I turned my head away. Is there anything else? If not, I'm leaving. He reached out to stop me and looked at me pleadingly. I really can't stand being with Liu anymore. Gigi, please, can you ask your father to pull some strings and help me find a job? As long as I have a job, my household registration can be transferred to my workplace, and I won't have to be involved with Liu anymore. Then I can leave her. Looking at this man, I truly don't understand how I loved him so much in my past life. How he kept me in the dark all that time, used me and resented me for a lifetime. He has always been a selfish person. I really don't know how I was so blind in my previous life, fooled by him for so long and in the end, died by his hand. I glared at him with utter disgust and said loudly, Guzian, that's enough. Since you're married, you should treat your own wife well. She's carrying your child right now. How can you say such things? You used her to get back to the city, and now you want to use me to fix your job situation. How can you be so shameless? Guzian quickly explained. No, you've got it wrong. I had no choice. If I hadn't coaxed Liu, how could I have returned to the city? As soon as he finished speaking, someone seized him violently by the collar and slapped him across the face. It was Liu. Liu had always felt that Guzian was too good looking, and even after marrying him, she was never at ease. She constantly worried that he would fall for someone else, so she kept him on a very short leash. Seeing him go out alone today, she grew suspicious and quietly followed behind him. I saw her hiding behind earlier, so I deliberately said those words. Guzian, you ungrateful wolf, so you lied to me, said you liked me, tricked me into having your child, fooled me into marrying you, just to return to the city. I fanned the flames. You deceived this girl. You have to take responsibility. How could you even think about divorce? You've gone too far. Liu glared at him fiercely. You want a divorce? Not a chance. Let me tell you, Guzian, if you try to divorce me, I'll make sure you can't find a job, then no one will take you in, and you'll just have to go back to the countryside. You'd better think carefully. Guzian turned pale. He quickly stood up, lowered his head, and didn't even dare to cover his face. Darling, this is a misunderstanding. I was just looking at an old friend from the time we were sent to the countryside wants me to ask her father for a job. Liu snorted coldly. I don't care whether you're telling the truth or not, but if I find out you have any other intentions, don't blame me for being rude. After saying that, she tossed the vegetable basket at him. Here, carry this, go home and cook. Guzian, holding the basket, scurried after her and slunk away in disgrace. When I was in labor, Luanin, who had been sent to the countryside with me, came to visit. While chatting, she said, do you still remember Zhang Jing? I looked up at her. Of course I remember. Didn't she marry Qi Feng and go back to the city with him? Luanin sighed. Oh, you didn't know. She never went back to the city. Qi Feng wasn't willing to take on damaged goods, and he made a huge scene about it. He divorced her and returned to the city alone. While she stayed behind as an educated youth, her reputation was ruined, so no farm wanted to take her. The village chief had no choice but to transfer her to a remote farm. Word is she couldn't make it there either, and ended up marrying a small-time thug in that village. At first, the thug treated her well because she was pretty, but later, he somehow learned about her past, and after that he beat and cursed her every day. She lived a miserable life. Unexpectedly, Zhang Jing took the same path as before, married a thug and ended up being beaten daily. And what about Guzian? Didn't he trick that female educated youth into marrying him so he could return to the city? I heard that to get a divorce, he fooled around with some official's daughter. But his wife found out and divorced him. Liu messed up his own job, and her family wouldn't let him register his residency under their household. He ended up as a person with no legal status. There was no choice but for the sub-district office to arrange for him to be sent down to the countryside again as an educated youth. TSK, everyone else is coming back to the city, but he's being sent down again. What goes around comes around. This heartless cad. I looked at the son in my arms, thinking of my suffering in the past life. Now, all of that was over. In the courtyard, Xia Jian came in carrying a new dress. Honey, today your month of confinement ends. I bought you a new dress and a gold necklace. Put them on and try them. When the guests arrive later, let them be jealous. I laughed. How childish. I'm a mother now. What's the point of dressing up so beautifully? Xia Jian looked very proud. What childish? My wife should dress beautifully at all times. I want everyone to. So what if I show off a little? I changed into my new dress, put on the necklace, and Xia Jian put his arm around the child and me as we greeted the guests coming into the courtyard. My brand new life was just beginning. That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, Please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. See you in the next video. Story 2. I'm the adopted daughter of the Martinez family. During the period when Justin was blind due to a car accident, I accidentally had a one-night stand with him after giving birth to a child for him, under the arrangement of his family. I left the child to the Martinez family and went abroad. Justin became a single father without even knowing who the mother of his son was. 5 years later, I returned to the country and married him. Everyone said I was magnanimous, being willing to be a step-mother at such a young age. What others didn't know, and even Justin still doesn't know to this day, is that I'm the biological mother of his son, Calvin. In the tea room of the legal department of Martinez Group at noon, I was standing aside making coffee. I heard several colleagues discussing some topics about their top-level boss, the young president of the Martinez Group. Mr. Martinez has been wearing a wedding ring on his ring finger since 2 months ago. Our president got married and started a family all of a sudden. Do you think those in the wealthy families need to inform you specifically when they get married and have children? I'm just curious, since it hasn't been made public, what kind of woman could win over the so-called Mr. Martinez? Maybe it's a marriage of alliance. However, come to think of it, Mr. Martinez's new wife has become a step-mother right from the start. Justin, the current president of their Martinez Group, is a resolute leader of the group. He's only 27 years old this year and is quite young and promising, but everyone knows that he already has a son who is about 5 years old. That little boy was once brought to the company by Mrs. Martinez to look for his father. With a delicate and carved-like appearance, he looks almost identical to Mr. Martinez, and it's obvious at a glance that they are father and son. Calculating the time, according to Justin's resume, he graduated from the highest-level institution in the country, and his son, Calvin, was born in the same year. He finished his studies at a very young age. Just after graduating from school, Justin became a father. The little boy has always been raised solely by Justin. The existence and identity of the child's mother have always been a mystery. I heard one of those people say, rather than being curious about Mr. Martinez's new wife, I'm actually more curious about how capable the little master's biological mother was back then, to make Mr. Martinez become a father when he was just in his early 20s. Just as I came out of the tea room, the department manager called me. Christina, come with me to a meeting. I probably returned to the country 3 months ago. I got married to Justin just 1 month after returning. It's not a marriage of alliance. Not only was I adopted by the Martinez family, but Justin's mother also likes me very much. It was she who asked Justin to marry me. To separate public and private affairs in the company, almost no one knows that Justin and I are married. We went to the meeting. In the spacious and bright meeting room, I stood in front in high heels, giving a risk assessment report. Around the conference table, the man sitting at the head was dressed in a neat and meticulous suit. He looked extremely handsome and noble. When he raised his eyes, an aloof and distant temperament was revealed, making people not dare to approach or offend easily. His gaze didn't fall on me too much, as if we were unfamiliar with each other. However, after work, in the Maybach driving out of the company's underground garage, Justin and I sat in the back seat together. When we got home, we didn't see Calvin. I asked the butler, "Where's the child?" Justin, who was handing his suit jacket to the butler, replied to me in a low voice, "Mom picked him up and took him to the old house. He won't be back tonight." He won't be back. In the bedroom late at night, I came out of the bathroom after taking a shower. Justin was tall and slender, leaning against the head of the bed. Different from his impeccable image in the company, his hair was half wet, one long leg was slightly bent, and his posture was lazy. He was wearing a well-made dark-colored home clothes, with the top button unbuttoned under the thin fabric. The man's mature and strong physique was outlined. When Justin puts on a suit during the day, he looks so proper and abstinent that people don't dare to look at him more, for fear of desecrating him. It makes people think that it's impossible for the color of lust to stain that always cold face. I thought the same way before, but after getting married for 2 months, I realized that Justin also has desires, and it's always him who takes the lead. Since we've become husband and wife, we've done everything that should be done. He raised his eyes and glanced at me, then placed the tablet he was holding between his slender fingers on the bedside table. Between the bed, Justin leaned over and pressed towards me. He didn't act at first, but asked me, "Has Mom been urging you to have a child recently?" My silence was a sign of acquiescence. Justin said directly, "It's up to you about your body. If you want to have a child, I'll fully cooperate. If you don't want to, I'll refuse for you in front of our parents." We've never discussed this kind of topic so clearly before. A few years ago, when I was young and went back to the Martinez family on weekends, What we talked about was whether I could keep up with my college courses. Suddenly, it turned to Justin asking me if I wanted to have a child with him. The big span made me uncomfortable, my cheeks heated up, thinking of Calvin. I still refused. I don't want to yet. Okay. Justin then got up to get a condom. When he was exerting particularly hard, I raised my face, bit my lips, and still couldn't help but speak in a low voice, habitually calling out that address. Brother, can we stop? Justin paused slightly. He was originally leaning down, with his forehead pressing tightly against my sweaty and moist neck and shoulder, biting with his lips. He raised his head, came to kiss my lips, and said my name in a low voice, Christina, as if I was being nibbled by him. Don't call me that. It makes me feel like I'm committing a crime, perhaps because we talked about children tonight. After that, before Justin got up to clean up, he said to me, you don't have to put yourself in the role of a step-mother. If you don't like Calvin and can't get along well with him, you don't have to force yourself. Almost instinctively, I retorted, I like Calvin. Oh, even Justin was surprised. I opened my sleepy eyelids and tentatively asked Justin, he's so cute. Maybe one day the child's mother will regret it. Her existence, in my opinion, is just to provide life for Calvin. Before I could finish speaking, I was interrupted by Justin. Even in the deep darkness, I could feel the depression and irritability emanating from the man beside me. This was an emotion that the always calm and composed Justin rarely showed in my impression. Calvin's biological mother was actually his taboo. The child was born by her scheming against me. Justin said slowly and oppressively, no matter who she is, she'd better never appear in front of me again. I hope I never find her. Otherwise, even if she's still alive, I'll make her life a living hell. When I was in junior high school, my family went bankrupt, and my parents ran abroad, leaving me behind. I was taken back to the Martinez family by a friend of my mother's, Mrs. Martinez, who is Justin's mother. Justin is 1 year older than me. Until the year he had a car accident, I had called him brother for 7 years. The car accident wasn't serious, but it happened to encounter a very small probability situation. The doctor said that the nerve was compressed, resulting in temporary blindness, but after 6 months of treatment, his eyes still didn't recover. Justin became increasingly cold-tempered and moody. Everyone in the city said that the future heir of the Martinez family had become blind, unwilling to submit to reality. He still attended a reception, different from his usual sharpness. Justin was drugged by someone's scheme. He didn't know that Martinez's parents and I were worried and followed him to that reception, feeling something was wrong. I entered the room where he was resting to check on Justin's condition. Then I was pinned down by him after being tossed by Justin for the first time. I had a fever and was sick for 2 days. The emergency contraceptive pill I took was vomited out in a confused state. When I found out I was pregnant, the Martinez's parents who raised me almost knelt down to beg me if Justin still couldn't recover, this child would become the future hope of the Martinez family. Mrs. Martinez asked Justin, Christina has a gentle temper and is good at taking care of people. How about having her accompany you in the future? Even though he couldn't see, Justin was still extremely handsome. During that period, his state was very poor, but he replied firmly, Mom, the original intention of our family adopting her was never to train her to be your obedient daughter-in-law. We adopted her as a daughter. I've watched Christina grow up. I don't have romantic feelings for her. At most, I regard her as a younger sister. That girl that night. Justin's expression became embarrassed. Is she still alive? Justin didn't know it was me that night. He only regarded me as his sister, and even Martinez's parents didn't dare to let him know that the person he considered as his sister was going to have a child for him later. During my pregnancy, I heard that a very young and outstanding female ophthalmologist had been carefully accompanying Justin for health treatment for nearly half a year for the most complex and risky surgery. Justin was finally willing to entrust it to her. Fortunately, the result was satisfactory. Half a year after Justin regained his sight, I had already flown abroad to continue my studies later. Even though the female doctor was young, she was a full 7 years older than Justin, who was only 22 years old at that time. Martinez's parents were not satisfied at all. They directly brought the half-year-old little Calvin to Justin. The father, after learning that Justin had a child, the female doctor soon got married to someone else. No wonder Justin hated the existence of the child's biological mother so much. This was directly ruining a relationship he had once had. As for why he was willing to marry me a few years later, I'm afraid it was still because Mrs. Martinez pushed us hard. On the first night of our marriage, I called Justin brother. He said that since we got married, he would accept the change of identity. He's not a man who can be abstinent. He can't not touch his wife. Calvin was sent back early in the morning. At the dining table, when I got close to him, The little boy interrupted me and asked, "Are you here to snatch my dad from me? I won't like you at all, apologize." Justin stopped eating in a leisurely manner. There was a father's deterrence in his eyes. "What about the politeness and self-restraint I taught you?" Calvin stubbornly remained silent, and Justin then asked the housekeeper to send him to school. I rushed outside and said to the housekeeper, "I'll send him." It was not until we reached the kindergarten gate that the little boy said to me, "If you think I'm disturbing you, Wei Wei and her mother invited me to live in their house." I teased him. "Is Wei Wei the girl you like?" He said softly, "I just like her mother. Her mother is a doctor. Sometimes she's even busier than my dad, but she still comes to pick her up from kindergarten every day after school." In the morning at the company, I met the deputy director of the technology department. He came over and greeted me on his own initiative instantly. Gossip spread among colleagues. "Christina, what's the situation between you and Daniel? He's a well-known unattainable person in the group, a returnee, and a young talent." Even Wendy, the female special assistant who works beside the president, couldn't win him over. I quickly denied and explained Daniel did pursue me when I was studying abroad, but I didn't agree. At noon, I still quietly avoided people and took the time to go to Justin's office. Justin was still busy with work at first. When he saw me coming, he asked someone to bring in the meal. I accompanied him to finish it. After Justin went to the bathroom to clean up and came out, I felt the atmosphere change. Sure enough, he picked me up and sat me on his lap. Not caring about wrinkling his suit pants, he covered my lips with his thin lips and kissed me. Justin didn't just give a light kiss, he also used his palm to lift the hem of my chiffon top from the waist of my tight-fitting knee-length skirt. I was being kissed by him. I slightly opened my eyes, and when I saw that the curtains of the floor-to-ceiling windows were drawn and remembered that the door of his office was locked, I felt less nervous. In the end, I was almost made weak all over by him. Justin held my lips and tongue, and played with me for a while longer before letting me go. He wrapped the suit jacket placed aside around me. I fell on his shoulder, and he asked me in a low voice, "Go to my lounge." I wrapped my arms around his neck and angrily bit a shallow tooth mark on it. "We both have meetings and work in the afternoon. Don't go too far." Justin stroked my waist. "We're newlyweds. Whatever I do to my wife is perfectly justified." I still haven't fully adapted to the change of identity. It turns out that Justin and I have become a legal husband and wife relationship. This was the first time I heard Justin call me this. He asked me as if in an ordinary conversation, "Are there so many people in the company who want to pursue my wife that they're lining up?" Justin had heard about Daniel. "He's just a senior I knew when I was studying abroad." Justin paused for a moment and asked, "Who else did you meet during those years abroad?" I didn't understand what he meant at first. "I know I may not have the right to ask you this," Justin said slowly. "I don't have any virginity complex either, but I still want to know. Christina, who was your first man?" Upon hearing this, the blood in my whole body seemed to freeze for a moment. I really didn't know how to answer him specifically. When I was abroad, I tried to get in touch with the opposite sex, but later I found that I couldn't focus on love anymore. After returning to the country, the shyness between men and women had long since faded, and on the wedding night, we were very compatible and got along smoothly from the beginning. I knew he wasn't minding, but just misunderstanding. However, Justin was the only man I had ever been with. How could I tell him that the answer to this question was himself 5 years ago? The person he loathed so much that he wanted to make her life a living hell was me. Forget it. Justin changed his mind first. The rationality and coldness returned to his eyes and brows. He raised his fingers to simply tidy up the collar of his shirt, whose buttons I had messed up. "No matter what happened in the past, now that we're married, we'll live a good life from now on." The original intention of my coming to find Justin at noon was to ask him to get off work early tonight and go to the kindergarten to pick up Calvin together. Justin finally agreed to me. Calvin was also very surprised to see Justin and me after school. He was led out of the school by a woman, who was holding a little girl's hand with her other hand. I had originally guessed that it should be Wei Wei's mother that Calvin mentioned, but I didn't expect that the little girl's mother was even more surprised than Calvin when she saw us. "Mr. Martinez," she called Justin first. "I'm Martina. I performed the surgery on you back then. You should still remember me." I also didn't expect that Wei Wei's mother was the female doctor at that time. Noticing me, Justin introduced, "My newly wed wife." Martina smiled wryly. "You actually got married, what a coincidence." Then she praised, "Your wife is well matched with you in terms of age and appearance." She had originally left with her daughter, but then suddenly came back. She walked up to Justin urgently and said, "Mr. Martinez, it might not be quite appropriate for me to say it's a coincidence. I just got divorced not long ago. Now I'm facing some difficulties. Your Martinez family promised me a real-world condition after your successful surgery, but I didn't mention it at that time. Can I make a request now?" Justin's expression remained as plain as usual, making it hard to see what he was thinking. A ringtone from his mobile phone interrupted Martinez's conversation for a moment. It seemed to be a special call, causing Justin, who always pays attention to etiquette and self-restraint in front of others, to say first, "Excuse me." Justin took out his phone and answered it. "I was very close and could hear clearly, Mr. Martinez. We've got some clues about the person you've been asking me to investigate," Justin simply and crisply asked. "Found her, Mr. Martinez. We won't let you down this time." He didn't talk much more. After Justin hung up the phone, Martinez said, "I had a terrible fight with my ex-husband." Martinez showed her bruised arm. "I'm a doctor, and he threatened to break my hand." The mother-daughter pair looked pitiful. "Please help me, Mr. Martinez. Can my daughter and I seek your or your family's protection?" Her daughter also looked at Justin timidly. Martina got married half a year after Calvin was born. Logically, her daughter should be at least 1.5 years younger than Calvin, but the two children seemed to be about the same age. Martina also took the initiative to confess to Justin, "The child is not my ex-husband's. I'm most afraid that she'll get hurt." The Martinez family has always kept their promises. It wouldn't be difficult for Justin to help if he was willing, but facing Martina, Justin seemed particularly unkind today. Despite his polite words, "Miss Lynn, it's more useful to find the police and a lawyer than to find me." On the way back, I still remembered that Mrs. Martinez had once told me that Martina was very capable and charming back then. She was like a heartbreaker, and almost no man could refuse her. She only fell in love with Justin, who was much younger than her. During Justin's blindness, Martina, as his attending doctor, gave Justin more care and dedication than other patients. Most importantly, Martina gave him the chance to see again if not stopped. It should be very difficult for Justin not to be attracted to such a woman. That's why Mrs. Martinez secretly offered conditions to Martina to keep her away from her son, without Justin knowing. Martina was proud and arrogant back then. Moreover, after learning that Justin had a child, finally, she said that she had overestimated him, thinking that he was a man of good character, different from other men. Having a son before marriage, he was actually so promiscuous, shameless, and hypocritical. Neither of them explained, and there were hidden feelings and misunderstandings between them. They had a very unpleasant quarrel. Facing Martina's submissive gesture today, Justin didn't stay too long. The sky outside the car window was getting darker, and the man's dark silhouette was quiet and plain. Justin spoke in the silence. "Christina, you're my wife now. Some things can be said straightforwardly between husband and wife. In the years you were away, I was a young and energetic man. It's impossible to say that I had no desires, but even so, I can clearly tell you that I haven't touched any other women." No wonder Justin let Calvin take another car with his assistant. He wanted to say these things. "My life isn't that exciting," he declared in advance. "That Miss Lynn's daughter can't be mine." He didn't want me to have the slightest doubt or misunderstanding. Although Justin isn't old-fashioned and dogmatic, he really doesn't have a hobby of being eager to be a father. I believe what he said at noon. Since he chose to get married, regardless of the past, he would live a good life with me in the future. This was his sincere words. The man who usually stays in the bedroom relatively early at night was unusually staying in the study to deal with work today. I went to bring him some fruits, but saw his almost perfectly proportioned figure standing with his back to me in front of the window outside. Justin was on the phone. "Prepare a cruise ship for me." His tone was clearly calm, but it seemed to carry the coldness of the night outside the window. "I don't need to know who she is exactly or what her name is. I'm not interested in knowing in advance. Just bring the person on board directly then." Justin heard the movement behind him and turned around to see it was me. He hung up the phone and called, "Wife." Seeing that I was only wearing a thin nightgown, Justin took my fingers. "Why are you so cold?" He led me into the study and directly hugged me in his arms, chest to chest. I pretended not to know. "What were you talking about on the phone just now?" Justin kissed my lips. "I don't want to lie to you. I'm about to find out the truth of what happened back then." My eyelashes trembled slightly. "And then make Calvin's biological mother pay a huge price." Justin buried his face in my neck and took a deep breath. "Don't stop me." It was already late at night, and then there was a knock on the door outside the study. "Dad." It was Calvin. Justin got up from me. The nightgown had thin straps. He only opened the door halfway, blocking me behind it. Justin regained his usual calm look. As a father, compared with his child, his tall figure stood in front of Calvin. Calvin came to ask him, "Tomorrow is the weekend. Can I go to find Aunt Martina and Sister Wei Wei?" Justin simply and calmly replied to Calvin, "Yes, Dad, what about you? If we don't let Aunt Christina know, can you go with me to protect them? I quickly heard Justin's answer. His voice was still very calm. No, he slowly said to the child, you go by yourself. I won't stop you. You can even stay there to protect them and live with them from now on. But from now on, you don't need to come back to this house. You choose. This scene was clearly Justin educating his son. I won't indulge you in this matter. You and I have the closest blood relationship. I was right beside Justin, listening to him say, and Christina is my wife. She and I also have the closest relationship in the world. He wasn't accusing, but clearly asking and telling the child, aren't you the one who's wrong now? She has been taking the initiative to get close to you, sincerely taking care of and caring about you, but you said you hated her. Just because someone else played with you a few times, you chose to get close to someone else's mother. She is clearly your family, won't she be sad? Justin finally asked him to think it through. After Calvin left, Justin first raised his finger and pressed the corner of his eye. I saw his action. The family doctor always told him to pay attention to his old illness during each check-up. Is there something wrong with your eyes? Justin denied it. Just a little tired, he added. A child's ability to distinguish right from wrong isn't fully developed yet. His actions ultimately reflect the attitudes and outlooks on life, values, and worldviews of adults. I'll teach him to understand where the principles and bottom lines are and won't let you be wronged. Justin indeed seemed like a strict father. However, although he loathed the child's mother, he wouldn't take it out on the innocent child. Seemingly strict, but in fact, his concern and care were obvious. The man who was always sparing with words in front of others would actually spend time and say a lot to teach his child to understand things. Justin was clearly rational, calm, self-restrained, and had a strong and resilient core. Only the truth he must find seemed to have become a kind of mental illness for him. He had to dig the wound open again to cure his hidden illness. Facing this man who had shared the same bed with me for many days with a complex mood tonight, I first found a cold compress eye patch, bent down to help him put it on, then I helped him put on a black eye mask. Although the possibility was extremely small, I still didn't want to see Justin's old illness relapse. When I came back from washing my hands, there was still some unwiped water on my fingertips. Justin was still sitting on the edge of the bed, his long and clean fingers resting on the dark-colored beddings with his eyes covered. He couldn't see me, which made it easier for me to look at him carefully. He used to be the brother who set an example for me. He was the calm president of the group. He was a strict father. He was my husband who seemed to be easily accessible at the moment. I couldn't help but gently touch his face, staying on his jawline. The various moments of getting close and getting along in the 2 months since I returned to the country flashed before my eyes. Now I really wanted to confirm one thing with him. Justin, do you like me now? I was afraid that I would never be able to hear the answer in the future. He didn't answer me directly. Instead, he lowered his head and bit one of my fingers. The cool and wet fingertip touched the inside of his mouth. He even took the initiative to entangle his tongue, which was very wet and warm. The man's expression was still cold and serious, as if there was no difference from when he spoke in the company. Gently touching my finger, he slowly said, enjoy me. It was a long time before Justin said in a low voice, wife, of course I like you. On Sunday night, it was the mid-year anniversary grand ceremony of the Martinez Group, held in a luxury hotel under the group. Justin, the president of the Martinez Group who should have attended, didn't seem to be present tonight. In contrast to the liveliness of the grand event, the sea was extremely quiet on the cruise ship. I was still wearing the champagne pink evening dress for the party, and my head was dizzy. When the private detective came to me, I knew that it was already the limit to keep it from Justin for 5 years. I asked them if they knew my real identity. Someone told me, Mrs. Martinez. We were also very surprised during the investigation. No one expected that the person he had loathed for so many years was also his lover. We're just doing our job for the money, although this may cause great trouble to your and Mr. Martinez's current peaceful life and family. This result still has to be delivered to Mr. Martinez. Since I chose to return to the country, I had no intention of avoiding reality. I was thinking about how to get to know each other with them, father and son, but I never expected that Justin loathed Calvin's biological mother so much that he wanted her to disappear completely. I lost the courage to confess. I was afraid that everything I had now would become a fleeting firework in the sky. I just couldn't bring myself to take the initiative to make our relationship turn from love to loathing, so I could only let Justin solve this mystery tonight. The cabin door was pushed open, and the footsteps that came were very steady. I was weakly leaning on the armchair, with a black cloak covering my whole body and a hat covering my face, until Justin stopped. He looked down at the woman in front of him coldly. Seeing the woman tremble, as if she had just realized fear. The man didn't want to waste time either and said simply and directly, "The track of my life doesn't need you to change arbitrarily. This is a provocation to me. I won't kill you." Justin now had a wife and a child, so he wouldn't take risks easily, he said lightly. But there are things more terrifying than death for a person to endure. Isn't there? He would definitely make the other person taste the feeling of having her current life completely overturned. The sea tide was surging outside. Tonight, the sea seemed like a huge abyss. The woman seemed too quiet against this backdrop. Justin's face was calm, and he still raised his hand. He also needed to solve the mystery. The confusing problem always needed a concrete result, but Justin didn't know that his love and loathing were colliding with each other. He touched the brim of the hat covering the face. He quickly lifted it up. The black cloak slipped off, completely revealing a delicate figure and a face that Justin was extremely familiar with. Although he was always calm in handling things, he couldn't hide his shock. "Christina," Justin took out his phone, as if to confirm if there was a mistake. I couldn't avoid it any longer, so I grabbed his sleeve. "What you see is the truth. How old were you back then?" It took Justin a long time to speak again. "Didn't I teach you how a girl should protect herself?" I had never seen Justin look so displeased. "What stage of life were you in? How could you let yourself get pregnant?" "In the Martinez family, Mrs. Martinez didn't really control me much. When I was just turning 18 and about to go to college, it was Justin who gave me a CD. He was cold and reserved at that time and didn't explicitly tell me what it was. After watching it, I found out that the content was a very detailed explanation of physiological knowledge. We were in two different cities during my college years. As an older brother, he had the right to tell me that in the future, when facing any man, I should first remember to protect myself and not to be easily coaxed by boys at school." Thinking about our previous relationship, "Do you think it was disgusting that we had a relationship back then?" I also knew what he was wondering about. "After that, I got sick, and the medicine I took was all vomited out. Then what could I do?" "Indeed, Calvin's birth disrupted your life at that time." "I had hypoglycemia and was seasick, and my condition was really bad. The next moment, I fainted. When I woke up, I was no longer on the ship but lying on the double bed in the bedroom of our residence." Remembering Justin's rare angry look at the end, "I thought that when I opened my eyes again, I would be sent to places like North America or South Africa." It was Mrs. Martinez's call that woke me up. It was still 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I only changed my way of addressing her after getting married. I picked up the phone and called. "Mom," Mrs. Martinez said. "Christina, Mike came to us in the middle of the night and asked if we had forced you. Does he know everything? I've never seen him lose his temper with me like this. I'm afraid he'll take it out on you. Why don't you take Calvin and go abroad for a vacation to avoid it?" I didn't go abroad, and I didn't even hide from him. In the new week, when I went to the company for a meeting, I saw that Justin was still sitting at the head. He seemed a bit absent-minded today. Although he was still wearing a complete 3-piece suit, he was leaning back in the armchair. If you looked closely, you could see signs of fatigue under his eyes. The watch and tie clip he usually wore were missing today. Accidentally making eye contact with Justin, I paused slightly in my speech during the meeting. He didn't come back all night. What was this between us? Was it our first argument and cold war? Justin had a cold and taciturn personality, and I had always been gentle and mild-tempered. He had always been in a mature and tolerant position in front of me. I never thought that one day we would have a few words of argument. As soon as the meeting ended and I got up to leave, something happened. I didn't notice that a male colleague, while packing his computer, elbowed me directly in the lower back. The force was so strong that I staggered forward and my waist hit the sharp corner of the table. The pain made me break out in cold sweat, and I knelt down on the ground. The colleague's face turned pale, and he wanted to help me. "Get out of the way," came Justin's voice. The apricot-colored French shirt was stained with blood. Justin's expression was not good. He quickly took off his coat and wrapped the large suit around me, using the suit to cover me. He squatted down and only then lifted my shirt. "The waist is such a vulnerable place." Justin quickly checked the injury, took the clean handkerchief handed over by the assistant, and gently pressed it on the wound to stop the bleeding. He held my knees and picked me up. "In public, go to the hospital." Fortunately, the bones and internal organs were not injured, but Justin still arranged for me to be hospitalized. A nurse came in to apply medicine to me, and behind her was a female doctor wearing a mask. At first, I didn't pay attention to who she was. Justin was also in the ward. The nurse originally wanted to ask him to go out, but Justin said lightly, "I'm her husband." I lifted the hospital gown, and his male gaze fell nakedly on my waist and abdomen. He frowned and then walked out of the ward. The female doctor followed him out, and a conversation came from outside. "I observed just now and suggest that you try not to use your eyes too much when you're tired. You've had surgery before, If you have any uncomfortable symptoms, you might as well go to the department for a professional examination. Only then did I know. It was Martina. Justin's voice was colder and more straightforward than that day. Miss Lynn, I'm married now. There are other men in the world besides me. Justin went out for about 10 minutes, didn't stay outside for too long, and soon came back. Now there were only the two of us in the ward. From his conversation with others, I could still hear the underlying meaning that he didn't want a divorce. Justin came over and squatted in front of the hospital bed. I thought he was going to continue to settle accounts with me. Unexpectedly, Justin said, I'm sorry, Christina, it was me who was in the wrong back then, not you. I said a lot of intimidating words. Don't be afraid. For anyone else, I would make sure she paid the price. But if it's you, I can't be impartial. I can only think that it was my fault. Justin confessed in a low voice and explained bit by bit. At that moment, all I could think about was that you shouldn't have suffered those hardships so early for my sake. So I questioned you and got angry at you. My original intention wasn't to take it out on you, and I never thought it was disgusting. Finally, he asked me, you were so young and alone, was it very hard for you at that time? I didn't answer him directly. So many strong emotions seemed impossible to express in words anymore. I kind of want to kiss you now. I leaned against the pillow, and Justin leaned towards me, gently touching my lips. He carefully avoided my injuries and got close to my chest. I heard our heartbeats beating in sync. Feeling that a light kiss wasn't enough, I took the initiative for once. I stuck out my tongue and even used a little skill, but he didn't open his mouth. I couldn't help but ask, why? Justin then told me, I went outside to smoke just now. He added, I smoke occasionally. I was surprised that he had this habit. Finally, I said, it doesn't matter. Then he opened his lips and directly entangled with mine. I could hardly smell the cigarette smell anymore. Instead, I tasted the faint mint flavor left after he rinsed his mouth with a hint of sweetness. You were seasick and scared. Why did you still want to get on the ship? If that was your predicament, even if I was scared, I would still want to take you away. Just as Justin was gently pressing on me and kissing me, the door of the ward was pushed open. It was Mrs. Martinez who came with Calvin. She was obviously taken aback when she saw us, caught by the child in an adult-like intimacy. It was Justin, the father, who calmly withdrew. He regained his demeanor in front of others. Fortunately, it was just a kiss. When Mrs. Martinez left after visiting, Justin asked her to leave Calvin behind. Calvin came to my bedside alone. I asked him, do you want to care about me? He said, I heard that you bled from your stomach. I thought you lost your baby. I directly told him, your father and I won't have another baby, because we haven't loved you enough yet. His eyes widened slightly. Calvin was only 5 years old. Even if he was smart, the term miscarriage should be beyond his understanding. I still asked him, how do you know that bleeding from the stomach means losing a baby? He answered me, Wei told me that her mother lost her little brother after getting hurt once. Is this why you want to protect them? A child raised and taught by Justin couldn't be bad. Calvin was clearly the kindest little friend. When I saw Martina in the hospital again, I told her, let me help you. Although I'm engaged in corporate legal affairs, I also have a professional lawyer's qualification and can accept private commissions. We should have zero tolerance for violence. As a professional, I also hope that relevant laws will continue to improve, making it easier for the weak to rely on the law. Justin was right. What could help Martina more was the law, sending the scumbag to jail. I originally didn't quite understand why Martina hadn't found a lawyer before. After my injury improved a bit, I accompanied her to an appraisal center. After coming back, we were sorting out materials in a coffee shop near the hospital. When we came out, it was already getting late. There were several men standing across the street, looking at us vaguely. Martina's face turned pale. She said to me, Christina, you should go first. Whenever someone tries to help me, my ex-husband will come to intimidate and coerce them. I also realized something was wrong. The men were coming towards us. 2 women. Just when it was almost the most dangerous moment, 2 cars suddenly stopped by the street. Justin got out of the Bentley in front. At that moment, he was like a god coming down to earth. Several well-trained bodyguards also got out of the car behind. Not a very long distance, Justin, in a suit, almost strode over. He kicked down the man closest to us, and his hand landed on my waist. The man's hand was very big, showing the difference in body size. He almost held half of my waist, pulling me half into his arms. Justin's hair was slightly disheveled. He asked me, are you okay? The man who had been kicked down suddenly got up again and rushed towards Martina, waving his arms. You bitch, you're quite capable this time. Justin and I were the closest to her. Seeing that Martina was about to be hit, Justin still let go of me, took a step forward, and reached out to firmly grab the man's wrist. He blocked the fist that was inches away from Martina. It was Justin who called the police. His hand was scratched. He went back to the hospital for disinfection. Martina said to Justin, "Thank you for helping me." Justin didn't even look up. "You don't need to thank me. Thank my wife. It's my duty as her husband. I'm helping you because she definitely doesn't want to see you get hurt again now." Martina still wanted to say something. "I just wanted to seek your help. I didn't mean to break up your family, but I do regret and wonder if I hadn't been so arrogant and had been more determined back then. Would things be completely different now? Your mother actually sent me away back then, Justin. I just want an answer from that time. If I could have been more determined." I heard everything from the side. In fact, an idea had sprouted in my mind, and I wanted to hear his answer from that time. It seemed that he could tell I was curious, so Justin finally said to Martina, "I have abundant material wealth. My parents raised me normally, and I'm not lacking in the spiritual world. I have a strong and firm inner strength, so why do you think that just because you happened to appear when I was sick, you could be my salvation and light? What you gave me were things I didn't lack. I wasn't moved or attracted because of that. Dr. Lynn, I appreciate your help during the surgery as a doctor, but I also paid the full surgical fee. Although you were a heartbreaker in the eyes of many people back then, I admit you're excellent, but I wasn't attracted. After leaving the hospital, you were just a passer-by to me." Justin had never liked Martina at all. Falling in love with someone, for him, couldn't be that simple. The person he liked was carefully nurtured by him for many years. Then, after waiting wholeheartedly, he finally carefully touched the fragrant petals. "Tonight was the last day of my hospitalization." He slept with me on the same hospital bed. I said to him, "It turns out that just saying the word husband can make me feel very safe." I then asked Justin, "Did you like me a long time ago?" I got his answer, "Yes. But even someone like him, a child of fortune, would have moments of retreating because he felt unworthy, and thus said words against his heart." I went back to work in the company. That night on the sea was like tearing apart the surface of the calm that we had always maintained, revealing its turbulent appearance. Finally, it miraculously returned to tranquility. Even I didn't expect it to be resolved so easily. It was as if the strong loathing that Justin had once felt instantly turned into bubbles and dissipated the moment he found out it was me. Even after he slowly thought about it and reviewed it, Justin felt that his life had completely cleared up. Specifically, the man who used to be so emotionless was visibly in a better and better mood recently. One day, he directly carried me out of the meeting room, and many people saw it. Such an intimate action between a married president and a female employee in the company was likely to cause criticism. Before the discussions got too loud, Justin first publicly posted our wedding photos. There were still some strange voices in the large company. It was after I came back from a meeting with the manager, and Justin, who rarely got off work early, came back to the department with me, and we heard the discussion together. It was two colleagues who were usually on good terms with me. I said she could get promoted just 2 months after coming here. Turns out she's the president's wife parachuted in. The title of president's wife is just for show. In fact, she has to be a step-mother at such a young age. I heard she got close to Mrs. Martinez. Mrs. Martinez forced Mr. Martinez to marry her. Justin's originally good complexion gradually cooled down. Even when the two were still chatting and didn't notice our arrival, he directly interrupted them. "If a man can't even decide his own marriage, he's incompetent and a failure." The man and the woman turned around, obviously startled. "I will only marry the person I love, and she is also the mother of my child." The reason why I didn't announce all her identities to the world is that she never needs to prioritize family and children first. The man refuted every point one by one, not giving an inch. "I will definitely treat everyone equally at work, but in daily life, if I don't show partiality to my wife, should I show it to you? So I don't want to hear such words a second time." When going to pick up Calvin from kindergarten, I thought about how to tell the child that I was his biological mother. Justin said, "I'll tell him with you." Justin always makes me see that a good relationship can become a source of strength and make us each other's protectors. I took Calvin to a convenience store. He looked at the snacks on the counter. "Dad usually doesn't let me eat these. Can I choose today?" I whispered to him. When your dad was at school, he would come to this store to buy grilled fish balls and takoyaki, even though they all ended up in my mouth in the end. I leaned close to Calvin's ear and told him, "Your dad isn't as strict as you think. The game you liked to play recently, he had already reached the maximum level in it before. Baby, ask him to play with you when we get home." When I turned around, I saw the man who was both a father and a husband standing behind us. I straightened up, smiled at Justin, and said, "Sorry, it seems I've undermined your authority as a father. The grilled fish balls today were a bit spicy. Justin asked his assistant to take Calvin to the car first, and then he kissed me on the lips in public. Is it better now? I was a bit nervous when telling the child the truth in the evening. Calculating the time, according to Justin's resume, he graduated from the highest level institution in the country. I thought Justin was quite right about something he said in the company. Baby, it wasn't that I abandoned you, but that mom also wanted to choose her own life first. Those were also the 5 years of my growth. If my life after 21 was only bound to a child, I might end up as a little canary. Raised by the Martinez family. All this was because Justin rejected Mrs. Martinez's proposal back then. He didn't trap me by his side when I was 20, so I returned with the radiance on my feathers, carrying his expectations. When winning the lawsuit for Martina, it was already deep winter, and from then on, it was a new beginning for her. With the contact with her, an ophthalmologist, I couldn't help but think about Justin's eye problem. Fortunately, we had always taken it seriously. Before the new year, after a thorough examination by Martina's master, we no longer had any worries. Before going to see the results, Justin was rarely a bit nervous and asked me, "What if?" I asked him, "Do you remember our wedding vows?" Both of us had good memories. Sure enough, he recited them: mutual understanding, mutual love, helping each other through thick and thin, and loving each other for a lifetime, whether in youth or old age. We will stick together through all difficulties and be lifelong partners. We are people who believe in the vows. We are people who will definitely abide by the vows. The end.